And we are live. Welcome, everybody. I'm Tarot Oracle, and this is a Patreon exclusive, normally live tarot class. But today, I wanted to sort of let everybody see what happens in the live tarot class. So, anyway, this is just a class that I cover basically what I do, how I read tarot, some traditional stuff, and we go all over the place. So, we're going to cover things from, for example, my book. So you get to see sections like Tower versus Death, good cards, bad cards, and different cards, how to read, love cards, different love cards, and et cetera, et cetera. And we have all sorts of other good things going on over there. Anyway, so again, I'm Tarot Oracle. We got Bountiful Sea Turtle from Patreon DC, from Patreon Lady Vegas, and of course me. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming in. How is everybody doing today?
Good to be here, Tio.
Oh, cool. We got in chat, we got Blah, Miss Teely, Connie, Tracy, Crystal. Everybody's here. Cool. Awesome. Elle, welcome. All right. So there's no readings on this. This is just, my take on cards, different cards, how the cards work, what I think about it, how I read and things like that. So if you're on Patreon, you get to join every Sunday. And this is going to be something where you can ask questions, interact with me, ask me questions like, that last reading you did, how did you come to this conclusion about this, that, or the other? So I basically give everybody a chance to sort of participate. Anyway, today I want to start with, because I'm all over the place on this class. Today I want to start with Tower versus Death. I think this is, interesting cards. Obviously, death card doesn't mean death, but you sort of see that in movies and whatnot. In TV shows and all that, you'll see different, perspectives on death card. It comes out and the eerie music plays and everybody's like panic, like, oh my God, it's a death card. But, in reality, it's just a software version 2, right? It's just the software. It's going to be different than what the software is today. So what does that kind of mean in my perspective? The death is changes. Things are changing. Tower as well is sort of changes. Things are changing. The tower is going to be much more disruptive, as you can see from the actual card, obviously. So this is going to be much more of a dramatic change. So death is not always a bad thing either. A lot of people do sort of get that perspective of, hey, there's changes coming. Dr. Mystical, thank you for the super sticker. There's changes coming. There's different things happening. And I don't think a lot of people like change. A lot of people dislike change quite a bit, actually. So I think it depends upon your perspective, how things are going with you, how things are turning out for you. If you're happy with how everything goes and you're in a Wheel of Fortune moment where everything is going great, you have a steady lifestyle, everything's pretty good. You got a couple of things of drama or whatnot. So significant change is going to be bad news in that case. But if you're in a position to where you're having more trouble or you're not getting what you want, I think death or the tower, either one of these is going to be good because it will shake up what you currently have and it will introduce a different perspective or introduce a different level of other things happening. So in my book, I talk about this, right? We got tower versus death, and I call death software version 2.0. So what does that sort of mean in a grand scheme of things? You're talking about software. So you introduce a new version of Microsoft Word, Office, I don't know, whatever, Angular. And you have two things that are going to happen in that case. You have one is you're going to have new features. You're going to have new things. So change brings about new things. Change brings about a different level of, action, activities, a different level of happening, different things. And that's going to be sort of interesting. So software brings about new features. Software also eliminates some bugs. So if we have some things that are lurking around, maybe, one person that's really been annoying, one person that we really can't stand, a lot of times maybe change will get that person, move them away because they like the old way of how things were, not the new way of how things were. And you'll see that with friends. You'll make a new friend. And then all of a sudden, because of the new friend, you're in new environments. Maybe the new friend likes to go to concerts or plays or something. The old friend, wanted to sit around and watch a movie or something like that. So you have a different, again, software version 2.0. Christina, welcome to the stream. So software version 2.0, we have a different perspective. We have new features, and we're getting rid of some of the old things that we may not have liked. And that's kind of where death comes in. Tower is going to be a bit more dramatic, right? We'll discuss sort of what's in the death card. One of the things that you sort of see in the death card, I removed it, was a priest kind of protecting the kids, right? So the priest is the protector. He's saying, stay away, do not come and do not take this. And obviously you have, the manifestations of, the death and things like that in there. Then you have sort of a rising sun in the background and what have you, and the two pillars that you see within the moon and a bunch of other cards. So that's sort of an interesting perspective on it, but it's sort of an eerie card. And then we come to sort of the tower, right? You have the tower's interesting because you have a fallout, or you have people coming in or people being affected by this. And I think that's more in my mind of how the tower differs in a major way, is because it just looks different. It looks different. It feels different. It feels like things are crumbling down. Things are going to not be as they were. So death is more of a, let's add some features. Let's get rid of some bugs. Let's do the new version of the software. But the tower is like, let's just crater the whole thing down, which again could be great if life sucks, or it could be great if you're working 80-hour weeks. Maybe that's a freedom thing there. Maybe that is something where I can get my life back, or I can get a perspective finally that I did not have before. So does anybody have any questions so far? No. Okay. So how does the death in the tower, how has that affected your readings? Lady Vegas, DC, Bountiful Sea Turtle?
So I have musical references for the differences between these two cards. So to me, death has always seemed like this beautiful aria that just is delicate and gentle and just kind of floats along, and you start here and the next thing you know, you fall asleep, and then you wake up during the symphony and it's at the end and we're in a different piece, completely. And it just is kind of this like gentle, natural flow of events that brings about this change. And the tower to me has always been like, the music's playing along, and then there's this huge cymbal crash, right? And then things quiet down and we have to like start again on the next piece.
There you go. It could be like you talked about musical references. It could be on the piano where you hit the wrong key and you have this weird moment, right? Or it could be a guitar string breaking in the middle of a solo or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, death is moving from the solo into the main area of the song or whatever. Yeah. Second verse. So yeah, it's more dramatic. And the thing about the tower, in my opinion, is you have people that are affected on both sides, but they're affected differently, right? So you have this impending change that's about to happen, or you have basically a lot of people affected. And that's one thing that I don't think is mentioned a lot when I see sort of references to the cards. Is this is one of the few cards where you have a lot of people involved. I mean, there are people affected. So, and that's one thing when our life changes. Let's say we're working the 80-hour weeks and we get a job offer from, somewhere closer. We're able to take that job. We're able to get that job. There's people affected other than us, no matter what the change is. That could be family. It could be friends. It could be the people we interact with, right? We have a lot of friends over the old job. What are we going to do, right? Because sometimes people from the old job, the friends or what have you, sometimes they're like, great, you got some. And other times they may feel abandoned because you were the person that did all the big heavy lifting or something for them. You were the helper, you were somebody there. So there are people that are going to be affected no matter what the change is. And I think that needs to be reflected in readings, in my opinion, right? When you see the death card and you have the tower card and you're in a personal reading, you want to say, hey, who else is going to be affected by this and how are they going to be affected? Because you do have to take that into account, right? You just can't ignore everything and go, oh, by the way, I had a death card moment. Now I'm at, another job in some area or whatever. You have to understand that, that's going to affect people. So these people are affected kind of differently, right? These people have sort of an impending doom it feels like, and you have these have an impending doom. So you know what I'm saying? So it's interesting just how many different aspects there are in the different cards. What do you think? A little bit like that. Okay. So go to my book and talk about that. So at the end of the transition, things are rubble. The existing system has now collapsed. There are a lot of change cards, right? And I think one of the parts of my book that I talk about is the important part about Death Tower. Anything that's going to change, anything that's going to affect how we're doing things today, tomorrow, what have you. You need to sort of look at what's nearby, right? So if we have a death card and then we have something amazing right next to it, like the sun, so you can kind of see, sort of a timeline. Obviously, people have different spreads they're going to use, different ways they're going to read the cards and what have you. But if you have like a great card, like the Ace of Wands next to death, for example, so change is coming. But after the change, like what happens? What kind of feel do we have after the change? And the Ace of Wands is going to be a new opportunity. We have something to do. So from the change comes, activity. From the change comes that level of let's do things differently. Let's do something new. And that's kind of what you want, right? You don't want something after the death card that's going to be even worse, or we're changing into maybe the Five of Pentacles, or we're changing into something restricted like the Eight of Swords. So you see an Eight of Swords next to this, a restrictions card. You could be restricted from getting what you need out of this, right? You could be restricted. You could not have the type of stuff that you want. Maybe you get an Eight of Cups next to it. We're changing, but there's going to be some exit that happens from that, right? We're going to be abandoning something. Maybe we abandon a friend. Maybe we abandon a lover or whatnot. But it's sort of, that's going to be sort of good that we have something next door to it that's going to be encouraging. Maybe the sun, right? So the sun illuminates and brightens up other cards. So you do have death is there as well. So anyway, Nora says, there we go. Nora's got some good input for that. Death is something that's overdue, needed to be removed. Indeed. That's kind of reflected maybe with an abandonment card, the Eight of Cups. Maybe I did need to remove this. Maybe I did need to get rid of that, right? But then maybe we have a Nine of Swords next to it. We don't want change. This is something that concerns us. Because I think, like I was talking about before, if you have something where everybody, you're having a good time, everything is going great, everything is nice, this is not something you really want. You don't really want any major change. You don't really want anything falling down. You want anything crumbling. So it could be concerning. And a lot of times you'll see that, right? You'll get somebody will warn you at work that, hey, you may be about to get laid off, or, you have another job waiting, but I don't think they're happy at this job about that, or something like that. So you have this concern, this worry that maybe I don't want that change. So there's that thing as well. So Tracy has something good too. I've always seen death as inevitable change we cannot control, destined to happen. There you go. So change, whatever it is, it's change. It's concerning. It's something that you may not want to be a part of. And I think that's going to be a problem, right? If we're not ready for the change, maybe this is something that we're going to hesitate. We're going to try to hang on desperately to where we're at. So if we're not ready for that, if we're concerned about that, because, you do have sort of that, what is the degree of losing something, right? The degree of losing something, separation, the DABDA, denial, what is it? Denial, anger, bargaining. I forgot what it is. Something acceptance. That's sad. Got the degree in that too. Anyway, but yeah, you have the denial stage. You have the anger stage. Like, oh no, this can't be happening. This is not, you're angry at it. I don't want this change. Maybe you're bargaining, please don't change. Depression, that's it. The depression, I'm going to have to accept it. I'm going to have to deal with it. And then finally you accept it, right? Anyway, but death is sort of in that mode. We have to get something going on. And, something great like maybe judgment. maybe the rebirth, the reincarnation, maybe whatever changed may be back. So maybe the job that we're getting laid off from may hire us in the future as a contractor and we're making more money. You've seen that, right? I mean, a lot of people get hired on as a full-time employee and they have to get laid off, but now they come back as a contractor and now they're working the same exact position, but making more money. Weird things happen, right? Maybe judgment, maybe the rebirth, the reincarnation, and all this other stuff. So you do have those situations as they go. Anybody have any questions? We'll throw into the next section. Oh, go ahead.
I just left a comment. It's only showing up under private chat, though. I can't get into the YouTube comments. But anyway, I just made a comment that the day before my mother passed away, I got the tower and the death. And at that point, I had always thought of, I don't think I ever thought of the death card as death, because that's drilled into your head. Mm-hmm. Well, in that particular instance, it did, because the next day, my card of the day was the death card. And I'll tell you, ever since that particular time, when I see the death and the tower, and even if it's just in the same spread, it kind of freaks me out, I'll be honest.
So sorry, I had a similar thing happen. I've never, ever had the death card mean literal death, even when I've had pets pass away and that sort of thing. But the morning that my father died, I pulled the death card and I called the facility and he had passed early that morning. Wow. But, it's, so, I mean, it is the death card and it, it is transition. And I think that for me, I've just kind of always known that was a possibility, however unlikely. But just, I think the more that you work with the cards, and kind of like what Tio was saying earlier about looking at the cards surrounding that death card, mm-hmm. Can be a little reassuring, that it's and less scary after you've had that experience.
It was 4 years ago, and I'm still, I still, if I see them in the same layout, I'm like, I try not to, but you're right. You're absolutely right. And I should have been aware that was a possibility, but it caught me off guard.
Yep. So the tower and the death card in the same read is pretty harsh, especially it's like right next to each other or the only cards or something like that. That's sort of a slap in the face at that point. You're just like, whoa, wake up, what's going on? Reevaluate this, like what's happening and things like that. So definitely. So Sunshiny Day says, if the cards significant delays after the death card can take, we're accepting the change. Yeah. I mean, anything around death affects death. Anything around the change affects change. And I guess, my system is kind of laying cards out like this, but a lot of people have spreads, right? Because the death will be in a position that's proper position. What's next maybe position, or what is affecting us the most right now position, or something like that. So I guess what's around it depends on how you read. If you read with positioning and this position means this particular thing, then you got to kind of, hook death into that meaning. If you just have a general card spread out everywhere like I do, then yeah, anything around it could be affecting it. Anything around it could be changing, modifying the change, telling us what happens before or after the change. In my book, I talk about that a card around death could could signify what is causing the change, right? So maybe there's the lovers, and then we have the abandonment of a lover. Maybe somebody's leaving. We had this long lost love and it was great. We've had it for, 20 years. And then, somebody's leaving, somebody's abandoning us, and that is instigating the change. So yeah, you could have that as well. Go ahead, DC. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, that's all I had to say. I just was curious what, how you would look at that, and, whether it's something to be, whether you ever look at that, like, do you see it? Does it ever occur to you that that's a possibility, or are you just so sure that it's change and just leave it at that?
Well, I think that change could include death. I don't just write it off. I guess when I started, what I'm saying is, the movie persona that death has sort of adopted over the years, I think is so generic and so overused in the movies and TV shows. So somebody coming in new to tarot could throw this down and, and just immediately go to that. I think you do have sort of an issue with when the card comes up. Obviously it's changed. This is maybe a dramatic change, but yeah, that could include literal death. But I guess the problem is, what sort of signifies literal death versus a change, and how generic do you put it? So if somebody is asking about somebody that's terminally ill, you have not contacted them in a while, they haven't called you, and you pull the death card, that definitely sort of says, yeah, you probably want to check on this person, or you probably want to find out what's going on with this person. But I guess if I'm one-on-one with a client, it's going to be difficult for me to say, yeah, they died or they're going to die. I mean, that brings in kind of a legal issues or something like that. Also brings in panic to a situation where the panic didn't need to be there. But if I see death in the tower together and somebody's like, hey, I haven't talked to Jim in 5 days, they were terminally ill, they were they haven't talked to anybody, I'd be like, you probably want to call Jim, maybe go check on Jim, just make sure Jim's cool and everything like that. But so yeah, I mean, I would definitely encourage them to check up on that. But yeah, it can mean, dramatic change can be something terminal. Yeah. So
This
that's my
is
2 cents.
This is a Bountiful Sea Turtle. I'm really new at this, so please correct me. But what I've always thought is death is more of like you are going to lose your job, whereas the tower would be the company may shut down, kind of to oversimplify it. Whereas the death is the end of something, but the tower is like chaos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Correct? And the tower sort of, the tower represents that. I mean, obviously that's going to be a more dramatic level of change. And the tower has a lot of other different meanings too. Like when I go in readings and I'm doing a reading for somebody and have the tower, right? It could be the structure of everything is dramatically affected, right? It could be the structure is unstable or the structure has collapsed. And the tower could be something that happened in the past or something that could be happening in the future. But yeah, you're right. The tower could be something that's already happened. Maybe the structure has collapsed and we're rebuilding it. And the rebuilding is part of the tower, the rebuilding of something. So for example, if you do have the Lovers, the 8 of Cups, and then we have the Tower. I'm using this because it's more easily. We have the Tower, right? So we have the Lovers, 8 of Cups, the Tower. Somebody left, and now the Tower has collapsed. This could mean a lot of different things. Basically, the home structure, the family structure has collapsed. So you're right. I mean, death could be, this is, it's going to be a change. Maybe this is my boyfriend, girlfriend, or what have you. Now it's time for a change versus, we've been married 10 years, 20 years. Now the structure of our family, our home, and everything has collapsed because somebody left the situation or something like that. So yeah, it's much more dramatic. And it could be something that happened in the past or in the future. So it depends, I guess, on the read, where it is in the read, what position it's at and things like that. So another thing is rebuilding the tower. So what comes after the tower? So things have collapsed. At this point, what do we need? I mean, what do we need? At some point, we need to rebuild, right? So you frequently see this pattern. I've seen this quite a bit. If I can find it, you'll find like an Ace of Pentacles, maybe an 8 of Pentacles or something like that. So the structure is collapsed. Everything is kind of, at this point needs to be rebuilt. Ace of Pentacles is an opportunity to rebuild it again, or maybe rebuild it better. 3 of Pentacles, we have work to do. And you'll see that a lot. I see that a lot in reads, a tower with some pentacles floating around it somewhere. Like, okay, yeah, it collapsed. So you're going to have to move on. You can't, just hang out with that. You can't just say, oh, everything collapsed. Oh, no, woe is me. You got to start over. Maybe we got to rebuild something, got to rebuild the relationship. Maybe we got to do something like that. You'll see that with Will They Call Me? You'll see this Will They Call Me readings, So I have an ex, and I know they're not dating anybody. I'm not dating anybody. I'd love for them to call me, maybe revitalize the old flame or what have you. But you'll see that, okay, the relationship didn't work out. We got some work to do to rebuild it, but it is rebuildable. Ace of Pentacles. Maybe this is the opportunity that you need. Maybe a Lover's card, Two of Cups card floating around there. Let's, yeah. I mean, let's try it again, right? Let's try this relationship again. That would be interesting. So does anybody run into that, like the Tower surrounded by let's fix it, or let's start band-aiding things together or putting it back together?
Couple times I've run into that. It's interesting that you mention seeing the Tower surrounded by pentacles, because I have noticed that that pentacles often come with the Tower, and I've always kind of the first thing that's always kind of come to my mind is, okay, everything's just crumbled and come crashing down. So you've got these pentacles. It's time to like put your feet on the ground, get grounded, stand up, and move forward with whatever, rebuilding needs to happen. Just that earth element of the pentacles is just kind of like, has always said to me, time to get grounded. But yeah, the whole like specific situation, like what we're talking about here with, okay, things didn't work out, we got some work to do, but it's possible to rebuild. That, just adds a little bit more depth, I think, for me going forward. I'll look at that a little closer.
I think you're muted.
Yeah.
So sorry, I was muted. Christina's like, you muted. Okay. Sorry. Anyway, but yeah, the Tower this could be a message to, further things along. Could be a message to the querent saying, yeah, it crumbled. Let's rebuild it. Let's start. Right. Because a lot of people do get into that mode of it crumbled. What's next? I don't know what to do. I'm having problems or something like that. But this is kind of, okay, pick it up, run with it. Let's get it onto the next stage. Let's find the next thing. Let's do the next deal. So yeah, definitely that. The other thing, let's see, I was going to do is let's go for love readings. So from the eerie death in the Tower card to cards all over my floor. So Kitty had fun with all my cards before the stream, so they're kind of a little bit on the random side here. All right. Let's do the Two of Cups versus Lovers. I'll talk about this in my book as well. What's going to be the difference between the Two of Cups and the Lovers? So they're both relationship cards, and this is literally called love in the grand scheme of things, right? This is called love. And obviously this is a major. So two very important differences here. One's a major, one's not. So this is going to be a more significant thing as per the title. And this is going to be sort of a lesser thing, the Two of Cups. The Two of Cups is also interesting because it's a meeting between two forces. And like I talked about last week, it could be something where, you do have, let's see, we'll go for this, the Two of Cups. So you do have a meeting between two things. You have a meeting between two people. You have opportunity between two people. And that's going to be kind of nice. And I sort of see that sometimes as maybe something new or something a bit casual or something sort of starting out. It's not, like super serious yet. So you're looking maybe at a date, looking maybe at, maybe an interview or something like that, because obviously the Two of Cups, even though it is named love, could be applicable to other situations in a job. It could be meeting somebody new. It could be getting into an interview. You're getting into an interview and you have an opportunity. The Two of Cups this is pretty decent. It's a pretty decent connection. It's not like you're going to go into the interview and you're just going to get blown out within the first 5 minutes, or they're going to laugh at you or kick you out of the building or anything like that. So definitely sort of a more casual meet as it goes. But the Lovers being a major is going to be a bigger thing. And I see sort of the Lovers as being something that's more long-term, not only being major and more serious and more dramatic, but also being something that's kind of long term, right? Maybe the Lovers is a marriage that's been going on for a while. Maybe the Lovers is something significant. So if it is a first date, I pull the Lovers, I'm going to have much more of an excitement about it than if I just pull the Two of Cups, right? So this is sort of the differences that I see between these. One's a major, one's not. You do have various, sort of symbolism and elements here, from the angel to the snake to the fire within this, and sort of the grass and the mountains could be, challenges within that in the background as well. So you have kind of this ethereal feel from the Lovers, which you don't kind of have at the Two of Cups. Two of Cups is a little more calm, a little more day-to-day type thing like that. So Lady Vegas, Sea Turtle, DC, what have you encountered differences between these two when you throw these down in a reading?
I've seen Two of Cups come up in business readings several times. And it's interesting the way it seems to be in, I seem to interpret it, is often based on the art and of the deck. And I don't know if it's because I was drawn to use that deck for that particular reason. And so that's why the art is speaking. But like the Two of Cups, the difference between, I don't have it with me, the difference between the Two of Cups on Light Seers and the Two of Cups in like the Wizard's Tarot.
Mm-hmm.
The Wizard's Tarot, you've got these two people standing there, and he's got this like smug look on his face, handing this cup over, and she's like kind of got this side eye thing going on. Like she's a little dubious right there. But I've seen that come up in business readings, and it's almost like, okay, there's a partnership here, definite potential for a partnership, but do you trust them?
Mm-hmm.
That's the Lovers.
The Lovers. I'm still okay. Two of Cups. I found it. There we go.
Yeah. So she's like looking at him like, and and there's like fireworks going off behind her in that little lantern or whatever, like red flags kind of going up. So, so anyway, that's kind of always the question I get is there is this potential for this great connection here. But they have to earn your trust. Do you trust them? Have they earned that? Don't take it on blind faith, where the Lovers to me seems like much more of a sure thing, for lack of better words. Like there's more of a long-term potential and like almost natural, or I hate to use the word soul connection, but but just more of a concrete kind of more like bodes well, a little better for the future, and like you could go in with a little more trust to this partnership.
Yeah, it makes sense. And that's what I talked about last week with reading the symbology, reading the feeling, the extra influences that you have in the deck that you like, right? Like you're talking about, maybe the Wizard's Tarot, maybe the Gregory Scott, maybe Elemental Wisdom Tarot or whatever. You have a lot of extra symbolism within these cards that we can sort of rely on for, hey, let me put this in my interpretation, right? So it depends on, the kind of card. Because last week I talked about my 10 of swords in my deck has a vulture there. So it could add the element of not only are things ending, but people are waiting for things to end, right? So you have that variant stuff done. But yeah, you make a good point. And we have a bunch of soulmate talk in chat too, which is fantastic, right? Rose comes in, reading for a friend. On and off again, romance with, we got the Two of Cups, which seems like to be happy enough, but not soulmates. And that's the interesting part. And that's where we're back to serious versus not serious, a major versus not a major. Obviously, it depends again upon not only where these cards are positioned, but, sort of the feeling and the cards around them. Because if you have like the star, for example, around this, right? We have a star around the lovers, and have a lot of big things. We're going into an adventure. So let's make a soulmate read or something like that. Would be something that would be a little more serious than just a generic date, right? Maybe the sun, maybe the star. And then we have the 10 of cups. I'm just overdoing it at this point, but yeah, I mean, 9 of pentacles, having everything that we need, maybe a 10 of pentacles. But anyway, but yeah, sort of making a soulmate reading, right? Or what kind of thing could we have in there? Obviously the lovers, maybe a little bit of a sun, the star, right? The star, maybe some destiny, some things happening. This is a guided path. This is something that is bound to be together. A lot of people would also lean towards justice, right? Justice being a karmic relationship or something like that. So people would throw in maybe the justice card. So many cards sort of make that, maybe Knight of Cups, justice, things balancing out, being karmic, coming back, maybe a 7 of Swords for something coming back from a previous thing. So you can mix it in and end up with something that looks kind of like soulmates. I mean, what cards would you want if you were going to make a soulmate reading? Lady Vegas, DC, anybody in chat? I mean, just throw it out there.
I would expect to see lovers and the star, or the star and sun, like you said. That to me would be, pretty indicative of a high, I don't know how to say it. Yeah.
Yep. Lovers can also be about choices. There you go. Go ahead, Lady Vega. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say the lovers and the 10 of cups are the two big ones for me that, that I would expect to see. I personally, maybe it's because I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart, maybe. I would also love to see the moon.
Really?
And yeah,
Okay.
just because I think that, when you're talking about a soulmate, you want to be able to share those kind of things that you keep in the dark, like someone that you can bare your soul to.
There you go. I like where you're going with that, because let's look at from my book, like cycles cards, right? So we have like, I have my thing. Anyway, I have I guess I need to drag it out. I'm having, apparently I'm not prepared for this, but let's see, we're going to view settings, page displayed. No. Anyway, yeah, in my book, I talk about this as well. I talk about, what kind of things are going to be good in a relationship reading versus going to be not so good in a relationship reading, right? So that's kind of where you're headed too. One of the things I talk about is a cycles card. So the moon and the wheel of fortune, like you're talking about, right? Well, the soulmate, the moon is more of a connection, soul connection, things like that. But it's also a cycles card. The moon comes around, the moon is there, the moon is predictable, whatnot. And the wheel of fortune, what comes around goes around, which could be a mixture of an on-off relationship, maybe, if you want to interpret it that way. The wheel, maybe you have a cutting connection, or sort of a bad connection, then the wheel comes up, maybe an on-off relationship. But the wheel is kind of a steady thing, right? It's a predictable thing. What comes around goes around. This is going to be a steady relationship. So if I throw in, let's say, a bunch of beautiful cards, and then I have the 10 of cups with the wheel. This is going to be a happy home, happy family. It's going to be something that's predictable, something that's stable, something that I can rely upon. Maybe it was destined to be together and it was absolute love. And we have that soul, that feeling, that moon, that eerie, beautiful feeling, all of the emotions connected with all of that. And maybe the sun thrown in, I mean, for flavor, I guess, whatever. But yeah, like you're talking about, you get all of this sort of mixed in, and you're really sort of leaning in a soul connection, somebody that's going to be there. So interesting takes on that. You also have, obviously, the 4 of Wands. The 4 of Wands being a happy home, happy family as well. 4 of Wands is kind of interesting, though, because it is because it's a little different than the 10 of Cups. I mean, this is sort of a home, but it's sort of a fire card rather than a cup or an emotion card. So what do you think about the difference? Let's talk about that. Is So we're kind of wandering all over the place today, but it's fun. So the difference is here. You have the 10 of Cups versus the 4 of Wands versus the 10 of Pentacles. I'm going to drag the 10 of Pentacles out while someone else talks. But what do you think about the differences between these two when you do have a happy home, happy family, and whatnot?
Well, I think one speaks to feeling, I mean, the cups, right? The emotions of feeling secure, feeling calm, home and family being your happy place and your safe space to land, where 4 of Wands is creating a happy home, right? Like, I'm a mom of a small child, and that happy home comes with, like, some work, right?
Right.
And it's the loving action of pouring like your love and care into your home, and creating that for those that live there. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. And that's Emily's Tarot Magic has some good points. Soul contract, star, sun, 2 of Cups, 10 of Cups, temperance, confirmations with the lovers. Also talks about, let's see where. Feel that the Wands is a moment of joy versus a lifetime of commitment or contentment. Right, I agree with that. And the 4 of Wands is kind of, we're building it, right? We're sort of building it up. We're sort of creating it. We have it propped up because obviously the 4 of Wands is not like a permanent residence, or the 4 of Wands is not going to be the brick buildings that we have in the 10 of Pentacles. So yeah, you're right. I mean, you have that feeling of this is going to be something that's stable, but it is being built. It is being in the process of being created, right? So we're not quite there yet. So if you have the 4 of Wands there, and you're like, we're not quite there yet. It's not exactly where we need to be, but then maybe follow it up with the lovers or follow it up with the 10 of Pentacles. That's really looking good. So I want to know what my relationship with Joe is or whatever. I think the 4 of Wands is going to be, we started it. I think this is going to be, you're talking about moving in, looking pretty good. Maybe we have a 6 of Wands right next to it. But yeah, that's going to be, something we want to do. So the two differences that I see between the 10 of Cups and the 10 of Pentacles, and again, I talk about this in my book, the 10 of Cups is a younger family. And that's kind of what you see, right? I mean, you see youngsters in the 10 of Pentacles, but this is like we have a house, we have a lot of land around us. So this is sort of a new family or a new structure, or, we have stability. We have everything is stable. Everything is nice. Obviously, the other thing is the 10 of Cups is cups. It is emotion. So we have that stable emotion. We have the emotion that's there, that's going to make a family, that's going to make it, right? But this, again, is sort of a fresh feeling. And again, a lot of greenery. So if you get the sun around this, the sun is sort of enhancing the greenery, like I talked about in the sun video. So the sun is enhancing the greenery. It's building it better. It's making it even better than it is in the card. And you have the rainbow, sort of the good news coming in. Again, positive, with the emotions, positive with that cups. And again, like you're talking about, this is being built. This is a structure. This is the chuppah, or however you pronounce it. But yeah, so let's look at the 10 of Pentacles. We're on to Pentacles. Now we're on to stability. Now we're on to, again, we can apply this to work, right? Is this job going to work out? 10 of Pentacles looking pretty good. But 10 of Pentacles is also a family. So we have the two dynamics between the 10 and the 10 being a happy family. So I see the 10 of Pentacles as an older family. Now we're introducing dogs, right? Now we're introducing some pets. Now it's been around for a while. Maybe we have 2 dogs, right? We have maybe Baxter and Brooklyn. We got 2 dogs in here. So this is something that's been around for a while. The dogs are older. They're not puppies. This is an established, a good, firm, established thing. And you do have sort of the grandparents you'll see in a lot of the cards as well. So basically this is an older, more established, sort of a very sort of stable thing. This is going to be stable, but it's also something new, something exciting, something that's growing, right? We have all the greenery, we have the rainbow. So good news on both sides. The other thing I notice about the 2 cards The Ten of Cups doesn't really have anything around it. If you look at a lot of decks, the Ten of Cups just has nothing around. There's a lot of land. We're a long way from the house, maybe. Some are closer from the house, but there's just nothing around. So you're kind of on your own, it feels, in the Ten of Cups. We're a happy family. We got it made, right? But we're kind of on our own. We have a lot of space around us. It's more spacious. We don't have anything that's there. But in here, you have more of a stable, you have a lot more family. It seems to be in more of a city feel, right? We have a concrete structure versus, sort of the growing structure. So this is a bigger city, it feels like, maybe with some other families around us. So if something happens, we have other people to babysit, or we have other people to, borrow something from if we're out of whatever. But anyway, but yeah, this feels more established, more sort of firm, more structured. Or what do you think, Lady Vegas, Sea Turtle, DC?
I had never looked at it that way. I had never looked at the Ten of Pentacles being an older, more established family. I'd always kind of seen it as stability, as a stable sort of home environment. But and it does make sense that that kind of comes with age. So yeah, I really like that.
Oh, cool. Thanks. All right. Yeah, let's see. DV additions, Windows. Okay, cool. So that's kind of my structure, how I approach this. And again, like we talked about last week, sunshiny day, let's see, comes in. Maybe the space can signify a long way to go. That's correct. Sunshiny day, it kind of makes sense, right? I like that, because a long way to go, because there is growth here. There's just not a lot of growth here, right? There's potential for growth. There's things happening. There's things moving. There's things like that. Maybe you can throw in something like the Seven of Pentacles, where we're working on it too, as well, right? Seven of Pentacles is one of my favorite cards, sort of combined with anything. The Seven of Pentacles is like Nutella. I mean, it goes with everything, right? You can put Nutella on a car tire, and it's just fantastic, right? But yeah, the Seven of Pentacles next to the Ten of Pentacles, right? Now we're working on the structure. We planted the seeds. The natural combination of the Seven of Pentacles and maybe a Nine or 10 of Pentacles around it, right? So we're planting the seeds for success for later. We're planting the seeds for success for a 10 of Pentacles or for a 10 of Cups. So we're working towards that. And you'll see that a lot in relationship readings as well. You'll see, okay, I'm dating this person. Is it going to be decent, right? Seven of Pentacles means, yeah, we're working towards an end result that is going to be decent. This is not a waste of your time. Seven of Pentacles reverse, it could be. I'm doing a lot of planting. I'm not getting any results. I'm doing a lot of work. I'm not getting any results. I'm just not having a good time with that. And then you got the Seven of Pentacles here leading into something like this. It'd be great, right? But again, it depends on your method of reading. Again, a lot of people will be in that mode of, this position means this. Or in other words, what's my current thing that I need to focus on? The Seven of Pentacles will be in that spot. It means you need to be planting for the future. You need to be planting for this. But then you'll have, what's my end result? Then maybe it's a 9 or 10 of Pentacles. So we're working and we're getting the result. And I love this combination because you're working and you're going to get it, right? So maybe you're doing your 80-hour weeks and you're waiting for that promotion. You're waiting for that job, the job. You're waiting for that recognition, the raise. Seven of Pentacles with something great following it, or great as an end result, is going to be that natural selection of, yeah, I'm going to get it. This is definitely something worthwhile, but obviously this, with nothing around it, maybe not the best thing. Maybe we have a Five of Pentacles next to it, or maybe a 10 of Swords. I mean, you're working hard, but, at the end of the day, they decided to get rid of you anyway. Maybe this is not something you want to sort of chase in that. What do you think? Any opinions? Okay, let's go for pages. Pages are kind of a pain. Pages mean a lot of different things. You have a lot of different pages throughout. And when you have court cards in general, I think next week I want to kind of focus on court cards in general. As far as the good, the bad, the indifferent about the court cards and whatnot. Page of Pentacles, pages mean a lot of different things. Page is going to be the messenger. Page is going to bring in messages of something, into the next card, messages of something into the next follow-up. Page is also going to be somebody who's not exactly prepared to do something. And you'll see that Page of Cups come out a lot about that in some of the reads. So is this person a good match for me? Page of Cups, I'm just not good at the emotions. I'm just not good at expressing myself. I'm just not good at maybe the Page of Pentacles. I'm actively trying to build something, right? I'm actively trying to do some building, but I'm a page. I'm just not getting it done. So I'm not really getting that 9 of Pentacles. Maybe instead I'm getting a 5 of Pentacles. Maybe I end up getting a 3 of Swords. I'm just not capable of doing that, or just have challenges approaching that, or challenges doing that. So the pages have a lot of different meanings, but every page has a specific meaning. And again, we'll talk about this next Sunday. But the pages are kind of fun. But there's a lot of different meat in the court cards. I probably spend next week sort of just devouring, this is going to be here. It's going to kind of mean this. This is going to be there. It's kind of mean that. Definitely that. But the pages are, it depends on the cards around it, but the pages are pretty fascinating in some of these readings, like we're talking about maybe with the 7 of Pentacles, or maybe building the structure within the 10 of Pentacles. Maybe I just can't. Maybe I'm not prepared. Maybe that person is just not ready to make that commitment. And you see that somebody, maybe, I don't know, somebody dating, 10 years or something, still hasn't made a commitment. I'm just making stuff out, but maybe that's a Page of Pentacles. Maybe I'm just not prepared for that level of structure. I'm not prepared for that level of commitment. And so no matter how hard I work with the 7 of Pentacles to get it done, I just end up with heartbreak. I end up with a lack of structure, a lack of reward for what, I really kind of need, right? At the end, maybe you have to just get rid of that entirely with a 10 of Swords moment. Say, okay, we can't get the 10 of Pentacles. This is not something that structures, not something that I want at the end of the day, and all this other stuff. So anyway, any final comments? And I guess we can just kind of wrap this up for this week.
Well, I'm bummed that you're going to do that next Sunday, because I won't be able to be here, but that sounds like a great lesson topic.
Okay, well, cool. Well, we'll miss you. I appreciate you being here this week, though. I appreciate all your insight and input and everything else. Bountiful Sea Turtle, thanks for coming as well. It's very good to see you.
Hey, will the Patreons get recordings?
Hopefully. This is recorded on YouTube. It's always recorded, and I'll post the link to that. And DC, thank you again for being here as well. I appreciate you as always. All right, and thank you everybody in chat. Again, this is normally a Patreon thing, so I will not be publishing this next week, but I want to kind of get a preview of what we do, how we do it, and whatnot. So I don't know, if you like kind of the lessons, this is a bonus you get with a Patreon. If you want to join Patreon, link in the description. I'll be back in 2.5 hours for this stream. Thank you everybody for being here. I appreciate it. We'll see you later.